The sun is essentially a nuclear explosion, a fusion explosion. That's what the sun is, an ongoing fusion explosion. I really wanted to understand what nuclear power is, so I decided to go back to the source. Nuclear energy is a beautiful, incredible, almost miraculous phenomenon that has been given to us. China has recently made a massive leap into the future, doing something straight out of science fiction. What do they do with it now? They don't process it, they just leave it in the spent fuel rods and put it into a pond until the end of time. In a stunning display of technological power, China has launched an artificial sun, a groundbreaking fusion reactor designed to mimic the sun's energy. There's the possibility of war between the US and China in the long term if no diplomatic solution is found. They saw it coming, and they still could not avoid it. Is this a glimpse of the future or a challenge to the world? Let's explore the full story. Fusion fuel in the capsule got squeezed, and the fusion reaction started. They designed this experiment so that the fusion fuel stayed hot enough, dense enough, and round enough for long enough that it ignited. It's crazy to shut down nuclear power plants. Solar flares are one of the biggest threats facing our planet today, according to theoretical physicist Michio Kaku, who fears we are sitting ducks for a potentially destructive solar flare. When a major solar flare and associated coronal mass ejection erupted from the Sun in 1859, charged particles from the star wreaked havoc on Earth. Today, the huge solar storm that brought attention to the potentially disastrous impact of our Sun on Earth is formally recognized as the Carrington event. The solar storm knocked down telegraph lines in North America and Europe, made telegraph poles shine, and even set fire to some offices. NASA has recorded sightings of the northern lights as far south as Tahiti. Even more concerning, our technologically dependent planet would likely be brought to its knees if another solar storm of this magnitude hit. We were almost swept away by a similar storm in the summer of 2012. A coronal mass ejection was ejected from the Sun that year on July 23 at 1,964 miles per second. Despite the fact that the coronal mass ejection fortunately did not impact Earth, researchers eventually determined that it was one of the strongest solar storms ever observed. Daniel Baker of the University of Colorado claimed that the storm might have been much stronger than the Carrington event. We would still be in the process of gathering up the pieces, he stated back then, if it had hit. Some of the scientists who forewarned us of the risks presented by solar activity in 2012 were theoretical physicists and string theory pioneers like Dr. Michio Kaku. He noted that many were quick to dismiss it, but our newfound awareness of its dangers has changed their minds. If the Carrington event happened again today, our weather satellites, GPS, phones, and internet would all be severely affected, according to the expert. The destruction would be devastating in a society where instantaneous global communication is vital. For example, one study from 2013 predicted that the United States alone would incur economic losses of $0.6 trillion to $2.6 trillion due to this kind of storm. According to Michio Kaku, power stations would be vulnerable as well. They would be short-circuited and wiped out, not just in one city, where other cities could come to the rescue, but in cities simultaneously across the entire planet. Earth's refrigeration systems would be knocked out for perhaps weeks at a time, potentially leading to food riots. Ordinary, simple business transactions would be halted because you can't make a credit card transaction when telephone wires are out. Society as we know it would be thrown back perhaps 100 years into the past. No other storms of Carrington's magnitude are on the horizon for the foreseeable future. However, the events of 1859 and 2012 should serve as a useful reminder that we are frequently vulnerable to the elements, particularly those of a cosmic kind. For the most part, the planet has been lucky enough to dodge most of what the Sun spews out into space. But as Michio Kaku noted, it's Russian roulette, and it means that our society as we know it is potentially in danger. We are sitting ducks to a potential giant solar flare. From the time we identify the flare until it reaches Earth, we would have around 1 day. Preparation time is essential for both equipment and protocols. According to Kaku, the primary objective should be to fortify power stations and establish backup systems. Just a short while ago, climate change was something of a side issue. Nonetheless, it seems like most of us are now cognizant of the dire situation our world is in. As a result of Tesla's marketing of electric vehicles, conventional automakers were driven to develop their own electric vehicle alternatives. There are still many obstacles on our path, but we are gradually altering our behavior and outlook. Since power generation accounts for a significant portion of global warming gases, identifying sustainable energy sources is an urgent matter. If we are to rescue Earth, we need to stop sugarcoating things and admit that our present energy options aren't great. Coal power stations generate electricity, but they also release large amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. While nuclear power plants emit radioactive waste and pose the danger of catastrophic reactor accidents, renewable energy sources like solar and wind power are unable to meet customer demand at this time. Our society's needs can only be met by the investment of significant time, energy, and land into the construction of sufficient solar panels and wind turbines. A stronger renewable energy supply is what we require. Goodbye atomic fission, hello atomic fusion. For the past decades, we used to rely on nuclear power plants, but several fatal reactor disasters have urged us to rethink this method of energy production. Not only that, a viable solution for the atomic waste problem is still to be found. It has become clear that atomic fission is not sustainable, and we can all agree that the alternative, coal power plants, is not a sustainable solution either. But there is hope. In December 2020, the world saw a huge success in the field of green energy generation. This innovation was achieved by researchers in the southwestern province of Sichuan, China, specifically in the research reactor Tokamak HL2M, also known as the artificial sun. In the days leading up to the new year of 2022, China achieved a first in clean energy by using its artificial sun to maintain a nuclear fusion reaction at 185 million degrees Fahrenheit for over 17 minutes. The phrase artificial sun is used to describe a particular type of nuclear fusion reactor that scientists at the Hefei Institutes of Physical Science of the Chinese Academy of Sciences have been experimenting with in an effort to increase China's access to renewable energy. With approximately $1 trillion in investment, it has been operational for over a decade and is officially called the Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak, or EAST. Contrary to popular belief, EAST is not a rising energy ball but rather a massive donut-shaped apparatus firmly anchored to Earth's surface by gravity. Part of the bigger International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor (ITER) project, which includes participation from 35 countries, EAST is situated in Hefei, China. To put it simply, EAST is a platform for experiments that will help ITER achieve its long-term objective of producing a sustained thermonuclear reaction by the year 2035. So China's success with EAST is actually a win for the entire world. In reaching record temperatures, China smashed a record previously set by France in 2003 and its own latest record in June, running at 216 million degrees Fahrenheit for 101 seconds. Both milestones represent temperatures that are many times greater than that of the real Sun, which is around 27 million degrees Fahrenheit at its core. This time, steady-state plasma operation was sustained for 1,056 seconds at a temperature close to 126 million degrees Fahrenheit, laying a solid scientific and experimental foundation for the running of a fusion reactor. The 10 nuclear technology research facilities and testing platforms owned by the China National Nuclear Corporation, CNNC, were unveiled to the public in March of this year. Among them was the new generation artificial sun, HL3 Tokamak. Both China's global influence in nuclear science and technology and international cooperation to address the energy crisis are expected to be bolstered by this move. The energy crisis is becoming increasingly urgent. Due to the rapid development of artificial intelligence and the staggering energy consumption that this technology requires, at its current rate of development, artificial intelligence systems might soon use as much power as Ireland does in a year, about 9.3 terawatt-hours. Magnetic confinement nuclear fusion is a cutting-edge disruptive technology with outstanding advantages such as abundant resources, environmental friendliness, and inherent safety. It is currently recognized as one of the most important ways to ultimately solve global energy and environmental problems and promote the sustainable development of human society. The visit is part of CNNC's series of events to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the success of China's atomic bomb test in 1964, as well as the upcoming 70th anniversary of the establishment of the CNNC in January 2025. Chinese nuclear energy development plans include a thermal neutron reactor, a fast reactor, and a controllable nuclear fusion reactor, a three-step technical roadmap. People expect to be able to harness nuclear fusion energy that is under human control in around 30 years, or in the middle of this century, if current nuclear research and technology industrial systems continue. The core temperature of the Sun is approximately 15 million to 20 million degrees Fahrenheit, while the metal materials on Earth will melt at around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The goal of China's construction of an artificial sun is to build a device on Earth that can withstand temperatures of more than 1 million degrees. Researchers at the Southwestern Institute of Physics, SWIP, aren't wasting any time in getting closer to their aim. In the 1980s, China established its first national large-scale scientific engineering facility for nuclear fusion with the construction of the first-generation fusion platform, HL-1. By the early 21st century, the country had laid the scientific and engineering groundwork for the transition from principal exploration to large-scale device experiments in nuclear fusion research with the completion of HL-2. At 39 meters in height and 8 meters in diameter, the new generation artificial sun HL-3 became China's largest and most advanced tokamak device in 2020 after its design and construction were completed autonomously. 10 times hotter than the sun's core, the plasma ion temperature can reach 270 million degrees Fahrenheit with a plasma current of 1 million amperes. HL-3 achieved high confinement mode operation for the first time in August 2023. As a result of this development, China's magnetic confinement nuclear fusion device has surpassed all others in terms of operating level. Research into the operation of high-performance nuclear fusion plasmas has also advanced significantly as a result. After SWIP signed an agreement with the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, and the development of future fusion reactors, CNNC announced in December 2023 the global opening of HL-3 to invite scientists worldwide to come to China and collaborate toward the shared goal of pursuing artificial sun energy. ITER is the biggest artificial sun project in the world, and HL-3 has been a major backer of its construction and management ever since. Building demonstration fusion power stations and eventually commercial fusion power stations are the final goals of the artificial sun project, which will involve a gradual progression from the deuterium-tritium combustion experiment stage to the fusion reactor engineering and physical experiment stage. According to Li Bao, a senior engineer at SWIP, the energy released from the nuclear fusion reaction of 1 liter of deuterium extracted from seawater is equivalent to that released by 300 liters of gasoline. Coal, in its most basic form, would need almost 2 million tons or nearly 33,000 train cars worth to run a 1 million kilowatt power plant for a whole year. Nevertheless, 0.6 tons of materials, the same as a modest pickup truck, would be more than enough if we employ nuclear fusion. There are a variety of ways to transform nuclear fusion energy into usable power. In addition to the conventional steam turbine method, nuclear fusion reactors have the potential to directly transform the energy carried by charged particles into electricity using unique techniques like plasma waves and magnetic fluids. Nuclear fusion energy has the potential to be utilized in a more diverse and efficient manner in the future as technology advances. What is the purpose of an artificial sun? China's actual artificial sun is not intended to be a source of light nor a source of heat, but rather a source of energy, and it is not designed to be launched into the sun, but to live safely in a facility that can withstand its high temperature. As a byproduct of its operation, clean energy has reached a new pinnacle with the creation of nuclear fusion power. The process by which stars burn can be replicated by scientists by fusing hydrogen atoms under tremendous pressure to produce helium, just like it happens at the sun's core. This happens in nuclear reactors inside coils of plasma, a superheated form of matter that can reach temperatures that are impossible to attain without leaking. Plasma is typically considered the fourth state of matter after liquid, solid, and gas. This has been a long-term goal of scientists, and East has achieved a significant step in the right direction. Nuclear fusion, in contrast to burning fossil fuels, uses the plentiful hydrogen atoms found in the ocean without producing any carbon dioxide. It generates an astounding quantity of energy because fusion energy would drastically alter the fundamental calculation of life on Earth. The world's nations are working together and investing massive sums of money in the research. No need to be afraid of any artificial sun. The development of such a plentiful renewable energy source would be a major victory in the worldwide movement away from harmful power sources. On top of this, China's first artificial moon is also here. Let your mind wander to a universe where the moon isn't just up in the sky but also right here on Earth. This may sound like something from a science fiction film, but it is actually being implemented by scientists in the eastern Jiangsu area of China. Even though the moon doesn't actually generate any light, the way the sun's rays bounce off its surface gives the impression that it does. Similarly, China's next artificial moon will employ the same strategy. The reflective coating on the satellite will redirect the sun's rays toward Chengdu. Large solar panel-like things may have been attached to the satellite for this reason, according to some observers. Presently, the objective is to have the spacecraft rotate at a height of 310 miles in a low Earth orbit. On a typical day, the Hubble telescope is located about 353 miles above Earth, but that would place it lower than the International Space Station, which is about 248 miles above us at their closest point. The Moon is 225,621 miles from Earth, but the three objects are obviously considerably closer. According to reports, the artificial Moon would have 8 times the brightness of the real Moon, which is packed with rocks. Even while this satellite won't illuminate the whole sky at that intensity, a scientist from the Harbin Institute of Technology said it should emit a dusk-like light in usual circumstances. The spaceship will appear as only a fifth as bright as a regular street light when viewed from Earth's surface with the human eye. There should be a way for human controllers to adjust the brightness or dimness of the satellite in case things get too bright. Another option is to disable it completely. Plus, it can direct its reflected light to illuminate a little region on Earth between 6.2 and 50 miles in diameter, which is a fairly specific location. Chengdu covers 4,787 square miles, so that won't even come close. On the other hand, if the satellite could only light up 19 square miles of Chengdu, the city could reduce its urban lighting infrastructure and save $173 million a year, according to estimates. In the 1990s, the Russians tried something very similar, hoping to boost productivity in polar regions. Astro engineer Vladimir Siromyatnikov created what the New York Times described as a space mirror called the Znamya banner. This was a satellite equipped with a large sheet of aluminum-covered plastic that could be unfurled at will. The Znamya was launched into orbit on February 4, 1993, following an extended stay aboard the Mir space station. It then descended upon Europe, shining a light beam as dazzling as the Moon. However, many regions were obscured by clouds. The Znamya caught fire a few days afterward, but that wasn't the end. A bigger, redesigned version of the original spacecraft departed from the Mir on February 5, 1999. Unfortunately, Russia had to destroy Znamya 2.5 because it encountered problems right away. The satellite's reflective mirror ripped when it became entangled with an antenna. A New Zealand company also took a stab at aping moonlight. In January 2018, Rocket Lab's Humanity Star was controversially launched. Essentially an overgrown disco ball with 76 reflective panels, the quasi-spherical object orbited Earth at 90-minute intervals until it prematurely disintegrated on March 23. While the concept of artificial moons is not new, Chung Fong's craft has the potential to bring this idea to fruition. In addition, the first shooting star ever created by humans takes aim at the stars. Space exploration and commercialization have literally been soaring to new heights in the 65 years since Sputnik 1 became the first artificial satellite launched into Earth's orbit. Many of us are now unwittingly dependent on the space economy due to our reliance on satellite television and automobile navigation systems. As private companies such as Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin vie to transport passengers to the edge of space, space tourism has even emerged in recent years. With the advent of truly extraterrestrial technology, the first man-made shooting stars are coming into existence. One Japanese business, ALE Company Limited, is standing out in the new space race. ALE was founded in 2011 by Lina Okajima, a businesswoman with a PhD in astronomy from the University of Tokyo. Lina has always been fascinated by the beauty and scientific potential of space. However, while studying for her PhD, she learned that there were very few means to gather funds for science in Japan, which meant there were few research opportunities. She decided to establish a commercial startup in the hopes of boosting scientific exploration. With its rapid growth over the last decade, ALE is currently working on 3 interconnected projects, collecting data about the atmosphere, mitigating debris, and creating man-made shooting stars. These 3 initiatives are in line with the company's stated goal of bringing space closer and gaining a scientific understanding of it. In 2024, ALE plans to launch its development satellite and then start the commercialization phase of the project. Angel investors and venture funds successfully funded the project in 2016, 2017, 2019, and 2021. A strong portfolio of intellectual property (IP) and various IP tactics that account for its unusual operating environment in space has been crucial to its success thus far. ALE is leading the charge to create artificial shooting stars about 249 miles above Earth. The endeavor will launch little satellites into orbit, just like Rael meteors, which transform into shooting stars when they burn up in Earth's atmosphere. These artificial satellites will unleash pea-sized particles that will return to Earth and generate light as they fall. A 124-mile-wide area, including urban areas, should be able to see ALE's artificial shooting stars. Compared to natural meteors, ALE's shooting stars travel more slowly and glow for longer. 2 of ALE's satellites have been successfully launched into orbit, and the company is hard at work creating a 3rd satellite. After overcoming technical challenges and safety concerns, the satellites, built in partnership with Tohoku University, were reviewed and tested numerous times. A number of enhancements to the satellite's control systems and array of sensors resulted from this, one of which is a safety mechanism that stops the release of particles if another spacecraft is in its intended path. Together with other parts of the satellite control system, this allows us to avoid creating space debris and collisions with other satellites while simultaneously releasing several shooting stars over certain places. The materials used to create the man-made shooting stars are completely safe for the environment, and safety and environmental concerns were made major factors in their design and manufacture. Additionally, their design guarantees that they will totally decompose in the atmosphere before impact, leaving no debris to harm Earth. In order to evaluate the shooting star's functionality, ALE constructed a plasma wind tunnel that mimics the atmosphere of a meteor as it flies across Earth. The business can now experiment with its shooting star's various color-producing components. Testing materials for spacecraft and advancing meteorology are 2 potential larger industrial and scientific applications of the outcomes of the artificial shooting stars experiment. Basic patents, business method patents, joint patents, and trade secret protection have all been utilized by ALE to safeguard these innovations. By combining its distinctive goals with the registered Sky Canvas brand, ALE is setting itself apart from its space industry rivals through the implementation of measures to safeguard its extraordinarily rare technologies. In addition to being a business venture, the Sky Canvas initiative may help achieve Sustainable Development Goal 13, which calls for immediate measures to mitigate the effects of climate change. Scientists have struggled in the past to see and collect data from the Earth's atmosphere, also known as the mesosphere, but ALE intends to improve this technology by examining the emissions left behind by its man-made shooting stars. It is believed that these technological developments will lead to more precise weather predictions and advances in the study of climate change. Space is getting more and more crowded as more corporations launch space commercialization projects. The risks posed by space debris have recently gained widespread recognition, especially with over 3,000 low-orbit spacecraft currently circling the Earth. More than 128 million objects are presently thought to be in Earth's orbit. Satellites' operations are endangered by each piece. In the hope of finding a solution to this overcrowded low Earth orbit, ALE partnered with the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, under the JAXA Space Innovation through Partnership and Co-Creation Program. Together, they developed a unique technology termed an electrodynamic tether. This harnesses a variety of natural and physical phenomena to force satellites to rapidly lower their altitude and enter the Earth's atmosphere. The electrodynamic tether is ALE's plan to retrieve undesired satellites from orbit, minimizing space debris and making the sky safer for scientific and commercial operations. By using this technique on artificial objects like small non-operational satellites, ALE is keeping with the G7 leaders' 2021 commitment to the safe and sustainable use of space to support humanity's ambitions now and in the future. The artificial sun was not just a symbol of technological progress, but a harbinger of the transformative power that such advancements wield. It signaled the dawn of a new era, where the mastery of technology could redefine the balance of power, promising both unparalleled opportunities and unprecedented challenges in the quest for global supremacy. At the center of our sun, an unending atomic inferno exists, wherein its immense mass creates unmatched gravitational force and prodigious pressure on its core. As a result of this pressure, two hydrogen isotopes are fused together, resulting in an indescribable reaction that produces a vast amount of light and heat, two crucial elements for life on Earth. Fusion is considered the holy grail of energy because it simultaneously releases helium and does not generate any radioactive waste. The hydrogen isotopes necessary for fusion can be easily obtained from heavy water and irradiated lithium. Scientists globally view fusion as an infinite, eco-friendly energy source for the future due to its incapability of producing greenhouse gases. The emergence of fusion technology holds the potential to transform our current world by rendering fossil fuels irrelevant and cutting down on energy expenses. This development could heavily impact nations whose primary source of income is the exportation of petroleum products or liquid natural gas, as fusion poses a massive challenge to their existing systems. There is a race to create an artificial sun through nuclear fusion, which could provide a limitless source of clean energy for the future. Governments and strategic investors are pouring resources into fusion research, and scientists are working hard to achieve an energy output higher than its input. This competition for power is primarily between the United States, China, and Russia. Fusion energy is highly sought after because it involves combining atomic nuclei to generate a gigantic amount of energy, unlike the fission method used in nuclear power plants and atomic weapons, which involves breaking nuclei apart. However, achieving fusion is a challenging and costly endeavor, with the total cost of the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor estimated at $22.5 billion. The process of fusion is remarkably arduous. While it occurs naturally within the Sun, achieving stable fusion on Earth is a tremendous challenge. In theory, it may seem simple: collide some atoms together and harness the energy. But creating an artificial sun is enormously complex in practice. Firstly, the Sun's size is approximately 1.3 million times greater than Earth's, making it impossible to replicate its gravitational forces on our planet. The fusion process within the Sun's core also occurs in a superheated stellar oven that burns at a scorching 15 million degrees Celsius. Scientists face numerous challenges in their pursuit of fusion energy. They not only need to create the necessary pressure and heat to fuse hydrogen, but also must keep it contained using magnetic fields, which is no easy task. Researchers must conduct significant experimentation and continuous trial and error to achieve fusion under high pressure and extreme heat conditions. However, containing turbulent molten plasma is just one part of the challenge. The process requires a substantial amount of energy input. Scientists aim to achieve an energy output greater than the input to make fusion a viable commercial energy source. Since Earth's gravity is much weaker than the Sun's, fusion reactors require even more heat to compensate for the lack of pressure, resulting in higher energy consumption. In fact, to attain fusion on Earth, researchers need to raise temperatures to several hundred million degrees Celsius, necessitating more robust magnetic containment and even more energy input. The competition for fusion technology is at an all-time high, with the United States, China, and Russia leading the pack. For many nations, this represents a critical matter of national security, and the development of fusion technology is highly classified. The U.S. team, led by Commonwealth Fusion Systems, the spin-off of the prestigious Massachusetts Institute of Technology, aims to achieve a net energy gain by 2025, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to success. China, a relative newcomer to the race, is a formidable rival. It treats energy development with the utmost importance and is already competing with Russia in the field of conventional nuclear energy. In fact, on December 4, 2020, China achieved a momentous milestone by activating its artificial sun using a Russian-designed reactor that has been the subject of constant improvement. The experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak East, also known as the artificial sun, is being developed and operated in a research facility in Hefei City in China's Anhui province. The project's budget is reported to be 300 million Chinese yuan, which is around $37 million. Despite what its name may imply, EAST is not a luminous orb levitating in the sky, nor is it an object seen in fabricated videos on social media. Instead, it is a donut-shaped confinement chamber that utilizes a strong magnetic field to contain superheated plasma. In the early 1990s, the Institute of Plasma Physics, in collaboration with Russia, built China's first superconducting tokamak device, HT7. It was followed by the EAST project, which was proposed in 1996 and approved in 1998. A schedule from 2003 indicated that site facilities and buildings were to be constructed by that year, with tokamak assembly taking place from 2003 to 2005. Construction was finished in March 2006, and the first plasma was achieved on September 28, 2006, with an initial test lasting almost 3 seconds and producing an electric current of 200 kiloamperes. By January 2007, the reactor created plasma that lasted nearly 5 seconds and generated an electric current of 500 kiloamperes. On November 7, 2010, EAST accomplished its first H-mode plasma by lower hybrid wave, LHW, heating alone. In May 2011, EAST became the first tokamak to successfully maintain H-mode plasma for more than 30 seconds at a temperature of approximately 50 million Kelvin. During a ribbon-cutting ceremony, the EAST Auxiliary Heating System project entered Phase 2 on November 29, 2011. After a 20-month-long upgrade break starting in September 2012, EAST was ready for experiments in May 2014. By May 2015, EAST reported a 1 megampere current and H-mode for 6.4 seconds. In February 2016, a plasma pulse was maintained for a record 102 seconds at around 50 million degrees Celsius with a plasma current of 400 kiloamperes. On November 2, 2016, EAST became the first tokamak to successfully sustain H-mode plasma for over a minute at around 50 million degrees Celsius. On July 3, 2017, EAST reached a landmark of 100 million degrees Celsius electron temperature for over 100 seconds. On November 12, 2018, EAST achieved another milestone of 120 million degrees Celsius electron temperature for 101 seconds. On December 30, 2021, EAST set a new world record for the operation of the tokamak experimental device, achieving a long-pulse, high-parameter plasma operation of 1,056 seconds. Finally, on April 12, 2023, EAST achieved the world's first steady-state H-mode plasma for 43 seconds. While China is working with the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, in collaboration with 35 other nations, the quest for a commercially viable fusion reactor remains a highly individualized endeavor for China. With competition being more intense than ever, China has already conducted test runs on its fusion reactor, while ITER plans to activate its own artificial sun in 2025. The goal is to achieve net power by 2035. Almost a decade later than the estimated deadline set by MIT, China has achieved a historic milestone in nuclear power research with the successful activation of its nuclear fusion reactor. According to People's Daily *, nuclear fusion energy development is vital for China's strategic energy needs and the sustainable development of its energy and national economy. The HL-2M tokamak reactor, China's most advanced nuclear fusion experimental research device, uses a strong magnetic field to fuse hot plasma, potentially unlocking a more potent clean energy source. The reactor can allegedly reach temperatures of over 150 million degrees Celsius, approximately 10 times hotter than the Sun's core. It is located in southwestern Sichuan province and is often called an artificial sun due to its colossal heat and power. Since 2006, Chinese scientists have been developing miniature nuclear fusion reactors, which they intend to utilize in conjunction with the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor project. This project, based in France, is the world's largest nuclear fusion research initiative and is slated for completion in 2025. The EAST tokamak reactor has broken multiple world records for plasma duration and temperature. Before East, the Tour Supra reactor in France held the record for the most prolonged plasma duration at 6.5 minutes in 2003. South Korea's KSTAR reactor set a record in 2016 by maintaining 50 million degrees Celsius for 70 seconds. However, East surpassed KSTAR's record in 2021 by sustaining around 119 million degrees Celsius for 102 seconds. In May 2021, East also set a record by running for 101 seconds at an unprecedented 120 million degrees Celsius. For comparison, the Sun's core is only around 15 million degrees Celsius. Fusion technology has the potential to revolutionize the energy industry by making fossil fuels obsolete while reducing energy costs. This innovation will likely pose a significant challenge for countries whose primary exports are petroleum products or liquid natural gas. Nevertheless, fossil fuels will only partially be replaced, given their widespread use in powering engines worldwide. Fusion technology also holds great promise for space travel, with NASA reporting some success in producing fusion on a small scale. Lattice confinement fusion, a phenomenon that occurs in the narrow spaces between atoms, has allowed NASA to achieve nuclear fusion on a small scale. Deuterium, a common nuclear fuel, is trapped within a solid metal's empty space during this process. This creates an ideal environment where atoms can reach the necessary energy levels for fusion without being either supercooled or superheated. The term lattice confinement may seem complicated, but it is simply a mechanism scientists use to condense and control the energy produced by fusion reactions. In contrast, tokamaks and stellarators rely on magnetic confinement to achieve the same goal. Magnetic fusion reactions utilize intense heat to counteract natural atomic forces and maintain plasma confinement. Another method, inertial confinement, involves compressing fuel to high levels for a brief moment, allowing fusion to occur during a short time frame. According to NASA, the novel technique involves generating conditions within a metal lattice capable of supporting fusion reactions while maintaining ambient temperature. Although the metal lattice containing deuterium fuel may seem to be at room temperature initially, the method induces an energetic setting within the lattice that enables atoms to attain kinetic energies equivalent to those required for fusion reactions. The fuel is denser in the new method, which triggers the reaction. A metal like erbium is filled with deuterium atoms, making the fuel a billion times denser than in magnetic confinement tokamak fusion reactors. A neutron source is used to accelerate the deuterons, and when they collide with another deuteron, it causes deuterium-deuterium fusion reactions. When atoms are closely packed in the atomic lattice of another element, the energy required for fusion reduces significantly. The lattice assists in filtering the particles that pass through and draws the suitable kinds even closer to each other. However, there is a large gap between the energy rates of individual atoms that resemble fusion and the practical application of nuclear fusion on a commercial scale. NASA views this as a critical first stride and an alternative to the global monumental tokamak and stellarator projects. Even the smallest magnetic confinement fusion reactors necessitate sun-hot fusion temperatures, posing logistical challenges. There are scenarios where such reactors are not viable, even after being practically scalable. Researchers are exploring various reactor types, but a method that eliminates the need to heat and maintain millions of degrees would be much simpler. It could be suitable for use cases where magnetic fusion reactors are not feasible. To achieve this, scientists will have to increase the rate of atomic reactions exponentially, but they have several strategies in mind for doing so. Recently, a new technology has been unveiled in nuclear research called stellarators. Nuclear fusion could be propelled forward with the help of a twisted reactor that is prepared to move out of the laboratory and become a reality. Fusion reactors can be classified into three groups based on how they contain the superhot plasma needed for fusion. Gravitational reactors, like stars, cannot be recreated on Earth. Inertial reactors use lasers to contain the fusion reaction for a short time. Magnetic confinement fusion, which uses superconducting magnets to contain the plasma, is the most promising. Tokamaks and stellarators are two types of magnetic confinement fusion. The magnets are critical to keeping the plasma from touching other materials in the reactor, as no known material can withstand the required temperatures for fusion. Although tokamaks are considered the leading concept for commercial fusion, stellarators have some advantages over their popular competitor, despite being an underdog. Type 1 Energy, a fusion company that combines expertise from the Max Planck Institute for Plasma Physics and MIT, has received $29 million to bring stellarator technology out of the lab and into reality. Carmichael Roberts, from the Bill Gates-backed Breakthrough Energy Ventures, believes that fusion is the ultimate energy source. Its successful commercialization will be a massive leap towards achieving clean and abundant energy for everyone. Advances in stellarator science provide a promising path to practical fusion on the grid in the coming decades. Stellarators are similar to tokamaks but do not use a plasma-based current. Instead, they use a series of twisting superconducting magnets to control the plasma. Although tokamaks are easier to build and there are 6 times more reactors than stellarators, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, stellarators like the Wendelstein 7X in Germany are better at containing plasma, whereas tokamaks excel at keeping plasma hot. Besides NASA, various private companies such as Princeton Satellite Systems, Helicity Space, and Pulsar Fusion are investing in developing fusion-based propulsion systems. As the race to harness the potential of fusion energy nears its conclusion, there is growing interest from corporate entities. The executive director of the Fusion Industry Association, Andrew Holland, estimates that more than $1.5 billion has already been invested in private fusion energy startups and huge government-sponsored efforts. The support for fusion technology extends to key figures such as Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, and Bill Gates, while strategic investors such as Legal & General and traditional fossil fuel energy companies like Equinor, Eni, and Chevron are also showing a lot of interest. Fusion technology is poised to usher in a new era in humanity's quest for energy, making this a pivotal moment for our generation.